started. Spawning here in the top right, the Hungarian dragon, it's Sziky.
And in the top left, Siberian Tiger, Dewalt, a Red Protoss player.
This is going to be a great series, and I'm super stoked for this.
Yeah, PvZ is one of my favorite matchups. There's so much stuff that can happen. So much,
for casting,
such a
not for playing,
matchup.
Right?
I still enjoy it when I play versus Protoss. I get so many ZVPs though on the ladder. It can get a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
And seeing the same builds over and over and over again. That's probably not what we're gonna see here out of Dewalt. He has such a big range, but those ladder opponents definitely do get a little bit boring, a little bit repetitive.
Right. And Dewalt going for a cross-map scout here right off the bat. Wants to figure out if this is close positions or not as soon as possible. And it does change things. I mean, you have to be a little bit more cautious about early pull timings if it isn't cross-map, so you can't get away with just crazy greed. Although, if it was cross-map, you can sometimes get away with even a Nexus first and what have you, so it can be a good idea to try and identify right off the bat, is this guy close to me or is he as far away as possible? And we'll be throwing down a safe forge at 12 here, just in case of an early pull.
Looks like it's not going to be a 12 hatchery here from Sziky. He threw down his pool after Overlord, so nothing crazy in terms of early lings either. We're going to see him take his third rather than his natural, just because the presence of this probe is going to annoy him a little bit too much. Nice getting some damage on that probe as well. Dewalt trying to harass the one the one drone that really boosts naturally there in the mineral line, and slowing that down just by a little bit is going to pay off for him. Managing to get this cannon down, the drone trying to block that as long as possible just to make Dewalt sweat a little bit here, but both players doing a good job with their early game micro, and neither player getting a big advantage here early on. 6 lings going across the map. That's actually a pretty big commitment from Sziky to go and try and get some damage.
Did he see the 5th and 6th Zergling? I think he only saw 4 Zerglings. I don't know if he knows that all 6... Okay, he's got 2 probes to block. You need at least 2, ideally 3, but this might just barely be enough. He does block some of the Zerglings, but honestly, getting into the base of 3 lings, that's a pretty big deal. And this is Sziky lings. They're pretty high level. I mean, he's going to be building up a pylon to block the hatchery going down the natural. That's good compensation here from Dewalt. He's already got some probes coming off the line to try and chase down that weakened Zergling, but loses a probe for his efforts thus far.
Yeah, this is super annoying, the pylon here in the natural. I'm surprised Sziky doesn't just throw down a 3rd hatchery a little bit off center, because this is slowing him down by quite a lot. He's losing a lot of potential larvae here, and he will eventually get that going finally in the natural after killing off that pylon. But Dewalt, I mean, almost going to lose this gas, man. Slowing down the gas like this is throwing a huge wrench into the build. In fact, he has to take the natural gas to compensate. Eventually, that will be canceled.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be done. It does slow down the gas income a lot of Dewalt. That's going to really hinder any potential leg enhancements, +1 timings, including the Corsairs as well. So yeah, this is a nice little win for Sziky. It does kind of compensate for having slightly less lava than usual and slightly less income because of that delay in the natural. So despite some shenanigans on both sides, both players have technically been delayed, although I would say Sziky getting the better end of the bargain here with this probe kills, and also the lack of mining that there will be from Dewalt pulling these probes to and fro here and there.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's got the better end of this trade. It's just keeping these lings alive in the main and looking for damage at the same time as hitting your build. It can be a little bit cumbersome. We'll see if Sziky can make all that happen at the same time. and see what kind of extra damage he can end up getting here. He's tracking the number of zealots right now, seeing how many are here in the main, and also with the overlord at the natural, seeing how many are being sent out on the map, so he can continue to add on lings as much as he needs. Right now he's only got 4 back at home, and keeping the there's speed is done as well. Now he can really look for some damage with these 3 lings, keeping them alive for this long. Now they are becoming a real serious threat to this probe line. Let's see if he can get a couple more kills here.
He killed the scouting probe as well, so he doesn't understand for sure exactly what the follow-up here from Sziky is. 3 hatch Spire, but making a lot of Zerglings now is Sziky. This could be interesting. There is a second cannon being produced in the wall, so I doubt they will be able to be anyway successful in doing a run by here. He could try and, like, say, run around these zealots and go back into the main base. It's just not worth it to do something like that at this stage in the game. He's going to be using these Zerglings purely to keep track of these zealots, slow them down, and gradually add on a few more pairs of Zerglings to try and trade them off as efficiently as possible, as late as possible. They're one of the benefits of being the Zerg player is you can choose the terms of engagement, so you can always hit the zealots at the last possible moment when you've got that critical mass of Zerglings like he's going for now. About 12 or so Zerglings to 4 zealots. With good micro though, Dewalt can still trade off a lot of those Zerglings and make it harder for Sziky to get the values. Well, that's a beautiful surround on that 3rd zealot though, and Sziky already getting some good value out of those initial Zergling units before transitioning into a bit of a mutalisk switch here now.
Yeah, this was excellent on both sides. Sziky saw that there was a second cannon being made, and as his lings got cleaned up in there in the main, he knew that there was going to be a push out. And so he had an initial clutch of lings. He waited for the zealots to come all the way across the map. Then he made the extra lings. And then, Dewalt turns around, pulls away, runs back. I mean, just really good understanding from both players. And this mutas are actually going to maybe catch up. Oh my gosh, does he have the moving shot
Almost.
here? Barely not going to get that moving shot. But he is going to be able to threaten a big Ogre Zerg gamer play here in the main base. And that's going to force a bunch of cannons out of Dewalt here in the natural main. Oh, he's diving on it right now.
Yeah, he's got the Scourge as well. Yeah, he's got the Scourge. Makes connections on one of those Corsairs. Hasn't the other. Cannons take 1 shot on each of those Scourge. So with some Neutron Flare connections on those, could clear them out. They are dangerously low on HP. So Sziky withdraws for the time being, squeezing out as many drones as possible while he makes the transition into 6 hatch Hydra as well. Wants to keep his options open. He needs to go up to at least like 35 or so drones though. He started to do that now. Got an Archon on the way for Dewalt. He is worried about that Ogre Zerg gamer mode, but I don't think it is coming. I think we're going to see a massive 6 hatch Hydra transition from our Hungarian Zerg, and now Dewalt with taking that Archon, he's not going to be super optimal in dealing with this with this, less storms available to him.
Yeah, Sziky dipped his toes in there, but he didn't go all the way into the water. Only taking a 2nd gas, never took a 3rd gas there, which is pretty typical of a player who wants to go for, mass mutalisk and Scourge to try and bust open the Protoss. But he did, however, try that dive, see if he could get some damage going, see if he could interrupt Dewalt, maybe force him to pull the probes, that sort of thing. Wasn't able to get that, and now he's making the full transition. This is the point of weakness, though, for the Zerg. There's only a few Hydras here in the natural. The lings are out of position as well. Oh, it's gonna take this fight. Diving right in on top of this. The Archon gets a great blast on the mutas, and he is really starting to fall apart here. Just like I said, the point of weakness is being exploited by Dewalt. He's going to have to pull his drones here, try to mess up the AI of these zealots and get on top of that Archon. The Archon getting so many kills, targeting down as many drones as he can. 9 kills on that Archon.
Wow, down to just 31 drones now. Sziky in a little bit of trouble. He's got a lot of Hydras popping out, but he's already sustained the damage that Dewalt had to do to make this worth it. He's going to try and hunt down a couple of those Corsairs on the exit, but I mean, the damage has been done already. Sziky in a little bit of trouble trying to play catch up. Meanwhile, Dewalt just going to be taking his 3rd base confidently.
Yeah, this is a struggle position for the Zerg player. you want to be taking your 4th right now, but he's just supply block, trying to get overlords out, trying to re-drone this natural and decide on his next move. There's not a lot of good choices here right now. If you just keep building Hydras and try to, try to kill that 3rd base, Dewalt is going to have probably enough to hold it off. As long as he gets Templar to that high ground, you can make a bunch of cannons over there and make it impossible. If you take a 4th base right now, you're already low on drones, so you're not going to be able to, drone up and make army right now, so you might be getting overwhelmed by the follow-up from Dewalt. There's just no really good options here for Sziky. Maybe just going directly into tech, getting out some lurkers or something like that right away so that he can afford to, at the same time, take a 4th base. I think that may be the only course forward here. Sziky moving up with some Hydras, but he can't do anything against this. Look at the defensive position right now of Dewalt.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any good answers here for Sziky. I'm not even sure if he had that lurker aspect on the way during all of this, I don't think that's actually an option for him. Looks like he's going to attempt some kind of soft contain. I don't think it's going to be super valuable. That's a little bit of an inefficient storm there from Dewalt, but he's got more than enough in reserve to not really worry about it too much. Already a Templar over at that 3rd base location as well to prevent any kind of issues of becoming wedged from his rally point, unable to reinforce that. He will be able to just storm the ramp from the high ground with that 1 Templar if Sziky does try and pull the trigger on busting down that 3rd Nexus. There is no point of contention that is easy to navigate for Sziky. He's just droning up really heavily right now and trying to power up as much as he can on these 3 bases while getting a very delayed 4th base, and it's not looking ideal for a Hungarian Zerg, but he's going to still make a game of it.
4th base and lurker, it makes sense. He's going to utilize that higher level of tech to just hold off the counterattack of or the next attack of Dewalt while taking this 4th base. Maybe get himself into a hive play. We'll see if he's able to take it that far. Still 6 Corsairs running around, just going to gun down those. This is a huge dive. Jumping on top of the natural. He actually gets 2 Templar. Glad we caught the engagement there. Nice job, Zero, catching that little dive by Sziky. Dewalt barely caught the tail end of that and lost 2 High Templars. Great job. Managing to lower that overall storm count. That's going to make it much harder to push through all these lurkers.
Absolutely, Sane. I mean, this is not a bad transition from Sziky. He's making it look more and more playable as time goes on, but like you say, probably needs to rush into that lair. If he does stay on Battle Zerg mode, he has to play hyper aggressive, and he is launching a massive attack right now. Could he wrap around this force of Dewalt? With good storm dodging, it's definitely possible. Some pretty good blankets of storms, trying to send that Zerg into a permanent nap, but it's not enough yet. That's a massive storm there on the southern threshold. Lurkers surging forward to better and better positions. Good target fire from Sziky onto some of those retreating Templars, and he has boxed Dewalt in to his base yet again, driving a wedge between the rally point and the 3rd base. He hasn't yet saturated his 4th, but he is going to attempt a delayed lurker contain here, and maybe, just maybe, Sziky can find himself into a better position.
I still don't really like the position here for Sziky, and he's going to lose his 4th, man. If Dewalt ever gets these zealots moving, he could have killed this 4th a long time ago, like as the attack was coming in. Now it's a little bit harder to do, but with this many zealots out on the map, just surrounding this 4th base and killing it off, that puts Sziky into an even rougher position. Yes, he can contain, but a 3-base Zerg containing a 3-base Protoss is just not as powerful as containing on 2 bases or having 4 base containing on 3 base.
No, yeah, really well said, Sam. It's a little bit tricky here for Sziky still. I mean, he's going to, make a good attempt of it. He could get some good trades still. He could maybe make this work. He's, picking off Templars here and there. He's losing a lot of Hydras for his efforts, though. Dewalt smells a little bit of weakness. He's going to try and shuffle forward, see if he can get some good Psionic Storms to blanket those. If Sziky keeps trading off these Templars like that, though, maybe he can make this contain work. The supplies are dangerously even for a Russian Protoss. So even though he's only on 3-base Battle Zerg, maybe he can trade well enough to make this work still. Zealot hit squad in a shuttle currently flying near the natural expansion of Sziky. Could get a snipe on some drones or even just try and take out the Spire in the main base or something like that. Looks like he's going to drop 2 in the natural, 2 in the main, and try and split the focus of Sziky to clean that up. And while he's distracted, could try and also poke out at the natural on his side of the map and try and get some good storms going.
This is textbook good Protoss play. You just go ahead and get this drop going while the containment, all of the opponent's army is over on the other side of the map, on your side of the map. Might as well bring a couple of drops over here and start to harass him, start to throw a wrench into his production and slow him down. Now, as the rallies start to dry up, because there's not really a lot of mining here, there's so much going on for Sziky right now trying to deal with this. The army from Dewalt is building and building, and eventually he is going to try again to break out here, and I don't think Sziky can hold on.
Yeah, there's even a DT now at the 3rd base. He can either choose to just hit that hatchery and try and eliminate it, but it's actually much smarter to hide that DT and try and get some snipes and some drones later on. I think he's choosing the latter of those two. That's a pretty big storm, baiting those Hydras forward and softening them up. Sziky needs to be really careful here. One little misstep and it'll all be over for him. Has technically still got Dewalt contained, but with the 3 base setup, not really a shoe-in for a good late game transition for himself. So needs to still really do some heavy lifting. Tries to surge forward and snipe more and more off those high Templars. Not so successful in doing so. Dewalt smells weakness yet again and starts to push forward with his contingency of Dragoon, starting to rain down on this Lurker line. He's doing a great job of breaking through that. There's some eggs about to finish morphing into Lurkers, but they're a little bit too late, and Sziky's going to have to fall back to the high ground.
Yeah, he's lost the containment potential here, and Dewalt can make moves around this, but he's just going to move right through it. He has enough here to just bust directly through the center. He's going to kill all these Lurkers, driving everything back, and the rallies finally coming forward for Sziky are just not enough. This is way too many Dragoons for him to stop, and the critical mass has been achieved.
Yeah, this is just a little bit untenable now for Hungarians. He's finally got this 4th base operational and mining, but at what cost? I mean, Dewalt's now going to break out, take his 4th base, and Ziky's hive has been so delayed that there's not really much late game potential for him anymore. He's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and Dewalt is gonna just collapse those boulders on top of his face and crush him. Now, not much can be done to hold the line. I think he's about to tap out once he realizes just how far behind the curve he is. Full-on desperation mode from Sziky, and he does just tap out. Game number 1 going to Dewalt, San.
Well played by him, having those zealots out on the map and managing to shut down that 4th base was a huge factor. Kind of a crazy play from Sziky, though. I thought he was going to be a little bit more defensive.
Right.
After he made that transition, he took a lot of damage. It didn't look like a very good position. I thought maybe he would hang back and go more towards a hive play, but he really wanted to get aggressive there. He really wanted to set up a containment. He thought that was the road to victory, and it just wasn't. Dewalt manages to take away that first game with that massive counterattack and an excellent drop as well to start that distraction.
Oh yeah, that little 4 Zealot hit squad did so much damage to Sziky, both directly and indirectly. Maybe Sziky thought he was so much further ahead than he was after that Zergling run by and, the probe damage and what have you. But yeah, Dewalt was just too much for him to handle at the end of things. But let's find out what's going to happen in the rest of this series. We're going to be jumping here into game number 2 on Metropolis. Let's get it started, guys. Spawning here in the top left is the red Zerg, hailing from Hungary. It's Sziky.
And our Siberian Protoss player, Dewalt, down in the bottom left. Metropolis is quite a fun map for PvZ. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I think that it often results in some pretty interesting games. What do you think, Shin?
Oh no, absolutely. And sometimes it can be tricky to take your 3rd base depending on the spawns. And I mean, Sziky did get the 3rd base closer to Dewalt here. Dewalt got the better end of the stick in terms of starting locations. His third base is off to the side, expanding away from the Zerg, a much safer base for Protoss to take. So Dewalt already kind of winning out in starting locations, but you know, it doesn't always amount to much. This is a massive boot-shaped main base as well, it has to be mentioned. So even slow Overlord drop is viable. You can, like, you know, load up an Overlord with some Lurkers or some 8 Zerglings and very slowly drop those into the main base and cause an absolute nightmare for your opponent. All kinds of crazy shenanigans are possible on this map. We'll have to wait and see what kind of spicy variations Sziky's got to deliver to Dewalt. But we'll see what occurs. We've got a gateway first here to kick things off.
Yeah, that boot-shaped main, I want to talk about it a little bit as well. Protoss dropping DTs into your main or Zealots into your main base is almost an eventuality in this matchup if it goes on long enough. That there's just so much surface area to cover. You got to spread Overlords and make sure that you can see everything that's coming in. Otherwise, that will happen to you, undoubtedly.
Yeah. I mean, drops are just so good on this map in general, saying it has to be said. And, you know, usually you see some kind of shuttle play in PvZ. And on a map like this, even more exploitable than usual. There's also that massive area behind the mineral line as well to be utilized. Scouting drone, identifying that first Zealot timing. He might attempt to slow that Zealot down by a second or two here. He is going for that now. If Dewalt's paying attention, he's going to punch that drone away and say, "Get away from me, buddy." Probe does identify that there's a sufficient enough count of Zerglings to force that Zealot back, though. So we're going to see anything too crazy here. Sziky might do a bit of a skill check and see if Dewalt's going to block his ramp with one Zealot and hold the line next to his gateway with the other one. Usually you block the ramp with one Zealot, one Probe, and the other Zealot kind of hangs around waiting for the other Zealot to pop out of the gateway here.
Yeah, this is a nice map for this particular strategy. Oh, the surround almost pretty darn good here for Sziky. He's actually going to force the swap out there with the injured Zealot. Because you've got this mineral on the ramp, very difficult to actually dive past this. He is going to get the probe, though. Oh, my goodness. Excellent control here from Sziky to kill that probe and get another 3 Zerglings into the main base.
Yeah, equally pretty good control from Dewalt, shuffling over the Zealot over to help body block and get an additional punch or two on those Zerglings as they come in to soften them up. And now one of them has been eliminated, although during all of that attention, he had a few idle probes as a result. So still paying the price indirectly with a little bit of lost mining time due to how much attention was focused on controlling those Zealots against the initial skill check of Sziky. And that's why Zergs are doing this skill check to the gateway first. It puts a lot of pressure on the Protoss to dot their I's, cross their T's. 2 Zealots, though, in the natural could have killed that drone with good target firing. Didn't find it, though. Now going to be hiding between the gas geyser and the mineral fields to try and get some good surface area to utilize and forcing these Zerglings into some inefficient trades.
Yeah, this is the hard part. This is the real hard part of ZVP in the early game. The Zealots are there trying to take trades. Plus, you've got Lings over in the main base. Or probe. This Zealot continuously chasing over and over again. He does get 1 probe kill, but both the Lings end up going down. So getting a little damage out of that. But now he can fully focus his attention on these Lings going into a Hydra den here. Might be some sort of bust coming out of Sziky here in a moment, but at the same time, another Zealot makes its way into the third. He's clearing these ones up, but he's taking damage over at that third base. Looks like he managed to pull the drone, but this is still a big slowdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of lost mining time, honestly. Having 3 drones that are not mining at this stage of the game, it's pretty crippling for the Zerg. He's just going to struggle to pump the amount of Overlords and Hydras that he wants to hit a critical timing here. And this Zealot is being a little bit annoying, going to tuck behind this little mineral field. He can kill that with 3-on-1. Just a little bit annoying though for Sziky to clean up and take a bit of time to get his drones back to mining in optimal configurations, and it will be that 9-7-3 play. He did do a sufficient amount of damage to the Zealots to enable this kind of play against the gateway first. You do have to kill a few of the initial Zealots to make sure that a play like this is not only viable, but will have enough punching power to actually break through and put a lot of pressure onto the Protoss. And Sziky's done enough of that heavy lifting to make this potentially work here.
Yeah, he could also just stay and kill the Forge Gateway.
Right.
This could be kind of a fake one. He actually has a lot of minerals right now. He might be throwing down extra hatcheries. Seems like that may not be the case here. More and more Hydras coming out. He's trying to hide these for the time being. Zealots pushing forward just a little bit here. Let's see if he can get the kills on the Gateway and Forge. He's getting some good damage on these Zealots initially, and he's going to start to target that Forge. Lings are here to try and assist if the Zealots do come forward, but we're probably going to see... Oh, he actually just canceled it immediately. He's going to build another Forge in the main base, adding on a lot of cannons here. Sziky, is he going to start to transition? I think I see another hatchery over at that third base.
Yeah, you do.
So many cannons being made from Dewalt, dude. If he just makes a quick transition, he could be in a really good spot.
Yeah, he's going to have to cancel maybe one of these cannons to be in a comfortable position here, does Dewalt. And the Corsair sees everything, although he sees a pretty light drone count, so he might not be totally convinced that he needs to cancel this 7th cannon. He might let it finish warping in because he's not quite convinced, because some Zergs will make macro hatcheries and still non-stop pump Hydras. So he is kind of hedging his bets and trying to be safe. Sziky's actually going to pull trigger on an attack anyway. Tries to poke in there. I'm not sure I agree with this from Sziky. I don't think he needs to do this right now. Just kill this pylon and call it a day and just macro up. Seems like the better option. Seems like Sziky has identified that that's a much better way of going about this. And yeah, just needs to drone up from this position. And 7 cannons is a pretty big response from your opponent. So, I mean, all things considered, I mean, Sziky can be happy about this.
Yeah, for sure. He wanted to check and see if the cannons had been canceled.
Right.
No way to do that. You can't send the Overlord in or anything like that. You have to push forward with your army to figure out what's going on. But he immediately turns around and runs away. He might end up getting trapped here by the Zealots. Uh-oh, Zealots getting out here, getting a big surround. He actually manages to slip through the noose here, getting out onto the map a little bit. But quite a few Hydras are going to end up falling. Good target fire so far from Sziky, killing off as many of these Zealots as he can. But in the end, going to lose quite a bit. Has he been able to drone up enough in between this? And he actually will take down most of those Zealots. Okay, pretty good play from Sziky. He is continuing to make Hydras now that he's gotten up to that 30 drone count.
That's kind of interesting. Like, he was actually pumping more Hydras rather than Overlords, rather than drones and during all of this. So he's still just on 30 drones. Like, is he thinking about doing a delayed bust here? Like, he's not made hardly any additional drones. I don't think so. I think he's just really cut on production, but maybe he was thinking about a delayed bust, but then the Zealots kind of caught him off guard and he has to cancel that plan now. But for a second there, it looked like he was, gearing up to do a massive timing. It's just it kind of fell through once Dewalt was aggressive with that Zealot move out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Sziky was going through his mind there. Why he doesn't have the drone count. He's got so many Hydras here. Like, he's got 2 full control groups, almost, of Hydras. To defend this, and he's already killed all the Zealots, so there's really not anything that can come out of Dewalt right now. He's missed an opportunity to bust up to like 45 drones really quickly and get that full economy online.
I mean, he can do that now. It's just not as optimal, right? Like, I don't know. Yeah, a bit of a missed opportunity, I would say, from Sziky. I'm not sure if he was planning on just busting Dewalt regardless of the 7 cannons and just doing a massive timing right when there's only 2 storms to worry about or something. I don't know. But he did seem like he at least wanted to set up a massive soft contain or something with how many Hydras he was producing behind that. Even though he lost the majority of the Hydras to those Zealots, like you say, he's got like a fresh 2 control groups of Hydras behind that and more. Dark Archon coming out of Dewalt, and there is a mutalisk transition from Sziky. This could find value.
Yeah, he flew through the main or through the natural, saw that there was a kind of a hidden spire there, and so makes the right decision. Gets a little bit of that anti-air. We'll have that Maelstrom online here. Probably another 30 to 40 seconds. Needs some of that energy to build up. It is here in relatively high number. I think there's about 5 in this group, maybe 7.
5, yeah.
Throw out a storm here. Just push those back. So it's not a full commitment into mutas just yet, but it seems like Sziky's heading that direction. Wants to go a bit of this layer tech style Hydra, and of course mass mutas to deal with some snipes on these Templar. Gonna get rid of this one Corsair that's been a little bit annoying. Pesky Corsair flying around, dealing some damage to these Overlords. And now he can spread Overlords absolutely everywhere, get vision over pretty much everything. And
yeah,
this is a reasonable position. It just all comes down to where the Maelstrom ends up landing. Is he going to catch that big group of mutas, or can we see Sziky able to snipe down a bunch of Templar before the big engage with Hydras?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if he even wants to make any additional mutalisks here. I mean, some Zergs do just stay on 5 mutas to do a little bit of harass and scouting, snipe some probes and what have you. Sziky might just do a full-on, pure Hydra into Lurker from this point onwards, but maybe not. Maybe he'll try and go up to 10 mutalisks and rely on a Hydra muta combination and try and snipe those Templars. And if he hasn't identified that Dark Archon, that Maelstrom combo could just ruin his day. You see Dewalt rotating over to this natural 3rd location. He's enjoying the spawn locations right now, being able to spawn away from Sziky right now at this 6 o'clock, and that will definitely help pay dividends for the time being. But getting his 4th base online will be much more challenging for Dewalt.
Ooh, there's that Maelstrom. 5 mutas going to be caught here, and they will be taken down. There's one thing that you can do in a situation like this. You send in the 5 mutas, and you have another 10
right
sitting off to the side. You eat the Maelstrom, and then the energy is just not there. You fly in with the extra mutas and kill off as many Templar as possible and follow up with the Hydras. He does not have that group of mutas, though, ready to go, and so he's just going to have to sit back, get this 4th base, maybe go into Hive from here, because there's no way he's going to break Dewalt at this point. There's just pushing up this tiny little ramp is nearly impossible.
Oh yeah, pretty much. The win condition now for the Zerg is just to outscale the Protoss and deny the Protoss from securing a 4th base. And to be fair, it is really tricky for the Protoss to get away with just sneaking a 4th on this map. So, I mean, there is a lot of hope here for Sziky. He's just going to have a hard time putting together the unit composition necessary to fight Dewalt out on the map. He will be relying a lot on these Hydras to do the heavy lifting, and the supplies do seem to indicate Sziky being in a good position. Lurker aspects just finishing up, but if Dewalt attacks right now, before those Lurkers are finished, Dewalt has a timing window to punish Sziky, and you can see the Lurkers are only just now starting to morph. So if he does pull the trigger and attack right this second, Dewalt could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, and he has a very quick path to Sziky's base. He's taken that center left, and so pushing up towards that high ground would be very hard for Sziky to hold. He's building sunken colonies here, a little bit of emergency sunkens to try and add a little bit of difficulty for Dewalt coming up that ramp. So he can't just storm everything on the high ground and push directly up there. He'll have to shove through those sunken colonies, and of course putting down a Lurker egg on the ramp here just makes things so much more difficult. Sziky is setting up for a really big surround here. This could be a massive surround, just completely engulfing Dewalt's army. There's so many Lurkers coming down here. The Zealots are making some progress up on the high ground, but this army, dude, I don't think he can get the army up on a high ground in time, and so Zeke is going to completely surround this. The storms are looking very good. Lurkers running forward here, but not all of them getting into range. In fact, a lot of them just sitting back and not pushing forward. The Hydras are so stacked up. He's having a hard time. They're not taking full advantage of the wide open flank here of Dewalt. He's mostly shoving through a very tight corner and getting stormed absolutely to death.
But despite that attack not really going as cleanly for Sziky as we were hoping for, he has ripped through this Protoss army still, eliminated the majority of it, and Dewalt is in major retreat mode. He's lost so much of his standing army. He's going to struggle to field an army that's potent enough to not only do damage to Sziky but secure his own 4th base now. Sziky just has to go into full-on macro mode, produce units on all cylinders, and as soon as Dewalt attempts to take that 4th base, he can start forcing fights and gradually transition into that hive tech, get the crackling online, get the plagues, and it will be very difficult for Dewalt to find the trades he needs from this point onwards. And you can see the Queen's Nest and the Evolution Chamber coming down now. Sziky, I think, has identified the same thing. He just needs to lock out Dewalt from taking a 4th.
Yeah, he's going to set up this big kind of semi-contain here at the front. It's tough to push through this. I mean, he can get some pretty good surface area. He's not, Sziky's not in a position where he's got Dewalt totally choked up as he comes out. Plus, he can sneak out on the side here. Oh my gosh, he walks through just this tiny little bit of fog of war, managing to get these zealots out on the map, and might be able to slow down a base over in that top right for Sziky, although he's still sitting here on 4 bases pretty comfortably. Oh man, probe manages to make its way down into the bottom right-hand corner. Sziky will have to get over there to deny that. Oh, the drone dies though.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Funnily enough, that drone actually blocked the Hydra that was sent to make the egg on the ramp, which allowed those zealots through to begin with. So yeah, the drone going down is kind of hilarious. Inversely though, Overlord spots that base in the bottom right, so Sziky will get down there to snipe that and will be morphing another egg on the ramp if he needs to body block this army from coming up here and doing a bit of a checkmate move on that. He hasn't actually got that egg on the ramp, and the Maelstrom denies that eventuality. So actually, Dewalt's going to get in there and kill that army and stop that base from going down potentially. Meanwhile, there's more counterattacks on Sziky's side of the map to distract him. So at his 12 o'clock position, Sziky was paying most of his attention, which allowed that to go down in the bottom right. Sziky, though, with a lot of forces trying to catch some of these units in transit now to try and find some major compensation. Beautiful surround on that pack of Dragoons and Zealot. Will be cleaning that up. He is currently enjoying both a worker and army lead currently, with that hive on the way as well. The longer this goes on, the better it gets for Sziky, but critically, Dewalt has secured his 4th base.
That base in the bottom right-hand corner cannot be allowed to stand here. Sziky, he sees it, has full vision of it. He sees the drone or the probe transfer as well, and he's going to try and get down here, fight this army. Let's see if he can get the full surround on these Dragoons. That Lurker burrowing in the back line is eventually going to get taken out, but it gets some critical spines, dealing a lot of damage to this Dragoon count, and there are a few more storms still remaining here. He's being very slow in the way he's casting these, making sure that he ekes out as much damage as possible with that spell, and actually forces everything back for Sziky. That trade went so well for Dewalt. He's now able to combine all of his forces and hold that bottom right. He can potentially take both bases in the bottom right now and sit here comfortably while, oh my gosh, double hives coming from Sziky. What am I looking at? Just to be sure.
To be sure that Dewalt can't snipe one of them. Oh gosh, crazy. I mean, this is the main point though, is that Sziky's hive is late, which is going to really help Dewalt catch up in this game. He has 3-3 upgrades already. Sziky only has 2-1. I mean, Dewalt has a lot of upgrade advantage right now, as well as tech advantage of how slow this hive is, and Plague and Swarms are nowhere in sight. Rotating around with this army to the 12 o'clock pocket. Dewalt going to start to apply pressure to Sziky and try and lock him out from securing this top right quadrant as well. There are some forces already in position in the top right to defend this, but probably not nearly enough. He's trying to gun down all the observers. Dewalt wasn't paying attention. He almost lost all of his observers for free there. Luckily, the last one survives with just 1 HP. He was so close to losing all of his observers there, which would have made it much more tactically disadvantageous to take that position away from Sziky. Sziky, though, as it stands, rotating down to this lower ground area with his army. Beautiful blankets of Sonic Storm on those Lurkers, though, ripping through that Zerg.
Yeah, those storms are so brutal. The nightmarish storms they're landing on 5, 6 lurkers at the same time, and now these Lings are going to try to come up and take this engagement. There's just a little bit too much storm here, a little bit too much AoE for Sziky to deal with, but it's slowly starting to dry up, and I don't see any more reinforcements coming across the map for Dewalt. Eventually, Sziky will surround and kill this army, but Dewalt is going to try and sneak out the bottom side. Can he actually get away from this chokehold here? Can he keep this army alive? That main contingent of Dragoons, so important for the army. The longer this goes on, you need to keep that main force alive. They are the ones that are dishing out the damage, and especially here when the Defiler is so late, they just continue to have that value.
Yeah, Dewalt needs to keep expanding now. We're going to have a real game on our hands because, I mean, Dewalt was not successful in eliminating that 5th base coming up in the top right, and Defiler Mound will be on the way with all the critical tech as well. This could be a really massive slog of a game. It might not be concluded for quite some time. I imagine this is going to be a split map situation for Dewalt. If he does just throw down a bunch of robos and goes mass reavers here, he's going to be in a great position. Looks like he's going to potentially intercept this drone transfer. Not quite finding that, so close to getting in range to maybe storm that line, but has driven a wedge between the rally point and the rest of the map now. So it's starting to lay siege to the Zerg. Sziky could still be in a lot of trouble if he can't muster his forces, and even if he does get over here, he's now going to be moving into a very tight choke point, which will be stormed into oblivion. Look at how many Zerglings are falling in such short order. Lurker's struggling to get into favorable positions as well. Definitely abusing the geometry of the map now is Dewalt, forcing Sziky into unfavorable trades over and over again. This is an absolute massacre, Zan.
Yeah, this is how I end up dying in a lot of my ZVP games, is the Protoss keeps maneuvering into good positions and forcing me to run up with my Lurkers. You really do want to have the Protoss engaging into you as the Zerg player, especially when you don't have that Dark Swarm to help with the engagement and soften up the units, give you that cover of the Dark Swarm. Here comes a few more Hydras from the flank, but he's right on top of the rally point, and we don't have more enough of a base set up in the top right to really sustain Sziky here. He is going to be getting overwhelmed in this natural and eventually taken out. I mean, this army might finally fall for Dewalt, but by the time it does, he's going to have another nearly maxed out army on his side of the map. He's got all the bases in the world down in that bottom right, plenty of economy to go all through the whole distance. Even if Sziky gets center right here, he could still take him into a mine out situation. But as it stands, he's killed the hive, he's denied the Defiler, and Sziky here is just sitting on his last legs.
Yeah, he taps out. GG.